All right. Here we are. We are live. Give me a second here. Got to put up the things, of course. Things we usually put up. Let's see, is the microphone doing all right? All right. A little far away, but should be good better now. All right. Here we have it. Post profile. Into your profile. There we go. Okay. We are live. At least we should be. Yes, we are. Let's give people a second to come in here. Okay. Well, here we have it. Let's just get right into it. Okay? Why does this happen every fucking time I gotta talk? Like, stuff comes up. Anyways. Poland has issued a notice to air mission NOTAM. Also known as NOTAM. I'll read what that is. From February the 5th to March 5th for its entire border with Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. Which is funny to say, it's like Russia, but yeah. The reason why it says Russia, and you might say to yourself, oh, it doesn't actually, oh, wait, you welcome in. It doesn't have a border with Russia. Kaliningrad is Russia. Now, we don't know if this is in response to the recent cyber attacks, you could call it that. There's been some sort of annoyment by the Russians in Kaliningrad who have continued to try and jam signals from like planes going over or near Kaliningrad, which is like annoying, but yeah, here you have it. So these are the time dates. And what this is a notice to airmen in NOTAM, also known as notice to air mission, is a notice containing information concerning the establishment of conditions or change in any okay, that's a word I can't read in English, aeronautical facilities, service producers, procedure, yeah, you could get it, or hazards, the timely knowledge of which is essentially to personnel concerned with flight operations. So here you have it. These are basically a notice of 2 airmen to be ready at this particular area. Now, it could be an exercise. It could be something else. It could be getting ready for something. They could be worrying about something. Belarus, they could be worrying about something happening in Kaliningrad, like I mentioned before, the jamming signal, or something else. Probably not from Ukraine. That's probably not where its biggest problem is, but of course it wants to close off that whole border. Now, we have no idea why. This could be an exercise. This could be a contingency to get ready for if something was to happen. But as far as we understand right now, and the placement of it also makes it weird, because why would they do it out here as well? Unless they were afraid of something from Kaliningrad. So this is quite serious here, and it starts tomorrow, by the way. So it starts from the February the 5th, which is tomorrow. This will be set in place. So this is quite something. It's probably an exercise in case of, like, I mean, NATO has recently been ramping up its we have to be ready for war with Russia campaign. So This is probably what it is. But yeah, there you have it. That's the news coming in here. Not amazing news here. I don't know why exactly. I'm betting on the recent events that have occurred in Kaliningrad with the jamming of airplanes and stuff like that. Could have provoked the Polish, or it's simply training, or they're preparing for something that we don't know. So this is quite serious here, and yeah, that's. It could be serious, it could be nothing, it could be everything, it could be nothing, right? And I have no idea what it is. I just know they did it. So, starting from tomorrow, the 5th of February, to March to May 5th, which is January, February, which is a month. It's a month, so it's a complete month. Probably an exercise, but can't tell you otherwise right now. Moving on from that, the Hungarians continue to be annoying, as Hungary will not veto an increase. Oh, sorry, I meant to say Hungary continues to be annoying. Instead, this time they have not been annoying, but they've done something else. But it's quite of a weird one, so listen to this. Hungary will not veto an increase in the European Peace Fund, the fund from which used to provide military to Ukraine, but will not participate in its work. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Shinlish, I can't pronounce that, he has said, yeah, you know, you try and, I understand that's Peter, or Peter, or something like that. Pronounce that. What's that? Sigirato, or something like that. I can't pronounce that. But yeah, no, so Hungary will not veto something that is in funding of Ukraine. I've mentioned this before. When you're pressed on the throat, you want to have some time for it. Moving on to some more pressing news here, and we'll just skip forward a bit here because you probably want to know about this, but I'll tell you this right now. Russians gathered 500 tanks, more than 600 combat vehicles, hundreds of howitzers, and 40,000 soldiers for an attack on Kupiansk, Forbes. It is from the article Forbes. Sorry, no, the publisher Forbes, or whatever you want to call it. It is noted that the occupiers plan to launch a major offensive in order to achieve military success closer to the spring against the backdrop of Putin's election campaign. The armed forces, despite the shortage of shells, are now actively strengthening and stocking up on FPV drones for this battle. That's the Ukraine. So the armed forces, that's the Ukrainians. So yeah, the Ukrainians are looking at a man force of 40,000, which is fucking insane. Just to put that into perspective, now I understand that you might say, well, they're not very good. Now, those Russian soldiers are probably not very good. But the only problem is, many of these soldiers are either people who've been at the front for quite a while, which means they have some kind of knowledge. But if they're new recruits, if they're completely new recruits, which they might be, then it might be just a bloodfest, which is something. But 500 tanks, that's a massive force. That, you know, no matter how bad a tank force is, 500 fucking tanks is a lot of fucking tanks, okay? You know, and also, by the way, 600 combat vehicles, now that's also a lot. But the tank is what I'm more worried about. And also the amount of howitzers they've gathered together really puts this into perspective here. So this is quite a serious moment here. We'll have to keep an eye on it. This is supposed to start sometime in the next few days or something like that. Can't tell you when, don't know. But it is supposed to start. This could be a massive push by the Russians to try and give Putin something for his election campaign, which is rigged anyways. But, you know, it's like Putin tells himself, oh, I need to give the Russian people something to believe in the war, which is true. But he's also acting like he has he's running an actual campaign to be president. No, it's really just a campaign to be the master of Europe is what he's trying to do, which is, he's not directly succeeding, but he's also not failing massively. Hate you, Russia. Well, we all hate him. We all hate Russia, don't we? I know we can all agree that if we can all agree on one person or one people to kick out of Europe, I'd kick the Russians out. You know, I really would. Several no un okay, so moving on from the European news here, we're moving on to some Middle Eastern news here because there's also a lot of stuff going on there. A lot less stuff than you might imagine, but this is also becoming quite a hot pocket down there in the Middle East. But I'll read you out here. The U.S. continues to bombard, but several unknown military aircraft noted airborne at a low altitude over northwestern and eastern Iraq within the last few minutes, with significant air activity reported near Al Assad Air Base in the Anbar governorate. Oh yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So to tell you out here, the United States is conducting still some kind of campaign in the Middle East. We knew this. We knew it's going to happen, and they're still doing it. So you know, it hasn't escalated a lot, but it has certainly proving that the United States is ready to go to war. So that's what it is. The the Israeli finance minister says we are not a banana republic of the United States. Now, the funny thing is about, if you don't understand this reference right here, the banana republic, there were two countries once that was at war with each other. They're called El Salvador and something else. Where were they? There we go. It was Honduras and El Salvador. Now, they were at war with each other one time before. And they actually went to war with each other over football. And there's this guy called it'll escalate tomorrow when the stock market opens tomorrow morning in the U.S. Can't tell you. 86. Couldn't tell you, but rumors are rumors. You know, rumors are rumors. How are you doing, 86? Welcome in. Now, these two countries used to go to war. Not used to go to war. They did have a war. It was a very short war. I think it was like 6 days or something like that. It was really... No, it was no. It wasn't that long. It was really short. I can't remember exactly. They went to war over some kind of football match, and there were a little bit more. I mean, El Salvador had a lot of people in it. It became quite crowded, so people from El Salvador went to Honduras, and in Honduras, they put up lives, and they spent a lot of their time there. They had grandchildren, and then all of a sudden, there was this military leader who took the country over, and he said, because the country now, of course, was facing extreme pressure, and had a massively downturn in economic and blah blah blah, you know, the usual stuff. So what do you do when you're a dictator of a country and your country's failing? Well, you blame it on something, right? So he blamed it on the people of the refugees, or not refugees, but settlers, in other words, from El Salvador, and then told them all to leave. So they actually made them all leave back to El Salvador, which made El Salvador kind of overcrowded. That kind of created some tension, blah blah blah. The Banana Republic, the reason why, and that was the reason why they went to war. I mean, they had some kind of tensions, and, you know, El Salvador went to war. There's a whole movie on it you can watch later. Maybe we should watch it later. It's from this guy called Oversimplified on YouTube. It's a really short one. It's from Oversimplified. He's a really great YouTuber. He makes his animation. I really like him. Maybe we should watch him. But because the American companies used to take advantage of the South Americans. Well, I say used to. They still do to this day. But there was a very rich banana company, I believe, both in Honduras and El Salvador. And they used to prop up these dictatorships so they could sort of take the bananas for themselves. That's no joke. So that's the reason why this statement, you know, we're not a banana republic of the United States. What this really says is we're not some kind of faction of the United States in corporation. We're not a corporation. We're not something the United States can take advantage of. We're a country, you know. So that's what that sort of means. I mean, I don't know if you heard him say it, but I just want to explain it to you, and we can watch that. It's kind of like a documentary. It's kind of like just a history video later if you want to. But yeah. Well, it has a lot to do with the stock market. You know, obviously, if you attack when the stock market's before it opens up, that could cause problems. But if you attack after it it closes or opens up, or likewise if you attack after it closes or stuff like that, you know. But yeah, anyways, listen, we're moving on from that. When the US and UK started their airstrikes against Iranian proxy groups in Syria and Iraq after the suicide drone attacks in Jordan, which killed 3 US Army soldiers, the Iranian reconnaissance vessels MV Shad quickly left the Red Sea and hit in the Chinese Navy base in Djibouti. This one, I think it's that one. A reconnaissance boat, it's kind of a small one, and so. Yeah, sneaky bastards. That's right. So the Iranians, as soon as they heard or saw, you know, like U.S. warships or U.S. planes heading towards Iraq, they were like, "Holy shit! I gotta get the fuck out of here." So that's what they did. So you can bet your money on the factor that we did scare them a bit, but yeah. Furthermore, the U.S. is planning additional strikes against Iranian affiliate militias targets across Iraq and Syria. They just targeted targets in Iraq just some minutes ago here. I think it's about 30 minutes ago we heard about some attacks. It's all about money. Yeah, it really is about money. But we heard about some attacks just some seconds ago here in the, I think it was Iraq. So the U.S. is still conducting airstrikes down there. CENTCOM is probably going to come out with some kind of statement on that later, but we'll lead on that. Turkey is being Turkey, and as it has announced, it will start selling military drones to Egypt. Now, I don't exactly know what that's going to do. You know, out of all things Turkey could have done, this isn't so bad. I mean, Egypt hasn't really been part of anything that's going on right now. And if it wants military drones, I don't really see any problems with this. A lot of people had some problems with Turkey selling these things to Egypt. But it's like, Egypt hasn't really done anything to prove that they shouldn't. Well, they've done things before, obviously. But at this current moment, they haven't, you know, attacked or anything like that. So, yeah. They even let the Israelis attack them without retaliating. So when they make the world go around, I don't have any. But that's what I heard. Oh, yeah, money makes the world go around. Where'd you heard that from, 86? Where you heard that from? All right. There has been renewed U.S. airstrikes reported against Houthi positions in Sa'et and Hodeidah governorates on the northwestern Yemen. Yeah. So Yemen, the whole Middle East is being targeted by the United States right now, which is a lot, except Iran. So to tell you out exactly where it is going on right now, I mean, if you take a look at the map here, and I can tell you where it is. Pretty much that country, not this country, obviously. Saudi Arabia wouldn't attack Saudi Arabia, and that country down there. No, I don't think there's anything going on in Jordan, but these three countries is where the most of action is going on right now. That's Iraq, that's Syria, and that's Yemen right there. So, yeah, that's where it's mostly going on. Now, this is Iran. This is what we don't want to attack because we're afraid they'll retaliate or something like that. No, we just want to avoid a conflict of war and want to avoid a regional war, a wider war, which is already too late, but whatever. If you want to keep your moral standing, keep going, you know. Probably, Grandpa. Yeah. You call me Grandpa? Okay, so one thing I heard here earlier today, now this didn't really, I mean, to say it didn't surprise me, it's kind of like that I didn't know, because this is not like a new thing, but Hamas officials openly admitted that children were used to help build the terror tunnels. At least 160 Palestinian kids doing so-called work accidents. Died doing so-called work accidents. So this sentence right here in itself came out today, and that's quite a disturbing number. I mean, this is, you know, and it says Simon Westenthal, center representative. I don't know who this guy is, but it didn't surprise me, the factor that they've done this. I mean, if you have seen videos down there, they're, you know, in the Middle East, they are very famous for using children and training them up for since they're children to sort of do stuff that in the future, which is quite a disturbing factor. This is not just a Middle Eastern thing. They do it here, and they do it in Africa, and they do it in India. They do it a lot in Pakistan. I mean, we all know what happens over here in China. That we all know, sweatshops and all that stuff. So the factor that some of these countries, the fact I've always found this funny, right? There's these countries right here who's actively supporting child labor, right? And then they go to Europe and they go, "You are against human rights. How dare you do that kind of stuff to us, huh? How dare you violate our human rights?" They sound like that American, that redneck American that always goes around and said, "How dare you violate my rights? I have my rights. I know my rights. I know my rights." That's kind of like every single country in the Middle East right now. I know my rights. That's kind of like they're kind of like a copy of the redneck, like Texan rednecks. I know my rights. No, that's what I heard of the game. So sorry, carry on. Oh, probably grandpa, like that. Okay, I thought you said probably grandpa, like you called me grandpa. I was like, okay, wow. No, but yeah, I mean, they're the Chinese, right? They're the best at it. They're like the double next level fucking redneck. They're like, "How dare you violate my sovereign territory and everybody else around me? I take whatever the hell I want. I know my rights. I know my rights." That's kind of like China. You can actually fit any authoritarian country down here towards these. You can fit in under that role of like that one redneck dude. You all know him. You all know him going around saying, "I know my rights." That's what you can do right there. All right. So moving on from that. The Israeli estimates intensified combat in Khan Yushin to end in about a week. IDF will achieve full defeat on Hamas division in city. Army took over main Hamas outpost today. So this is actually quite significant. The Israelis have come out and said that the attacks will intensify to be able to stop the attacks, and possibly Israel would or are now saying that this war could be coming to an end in a very, very strong victory for Israel. Not only a victory, but a massive defeat for the Hamas divisions. So here you have it. Then the next question, of course, is going to be what's going to happen with Palestine. Are they going to rebuild it? Are they going to let people live there? That's the next question. So now we have a military question. The next question is going to be the moral question. What's going to happen with Palestine? That's the moral question. You get what I'm saying? Like it's right now it's a military question. What's going to happen military-wise? Who's going to win? We know who's going to win. Looking at the factors, we know who's going to win. But now we're going to talk about the moral factors. Who's going to morally win? Who's going to have their land? Who's going to be where? Blah blah blah. Logistical problems, all that kind of stuff. We don't have to think about it, but it is happening. It's going to continue to happen. We're going to have to continue to look at it. Of course, I'm still a factor to believe that the two-state solution is a viable option. I do believe that there should be an existence of a two-state solution where they could coexist. Now, I believe that is hard because these people, they hate each other, if you hadn't noticed. But Israel has continuously said that they're not at war with Palestine. They're at war with Hamas. So will they let the Palestinian people live their lives? That's the question. I do think they're going to continue to rule the area just to make sure that there won't be another faction or terrorist organization that re-arises. But, we'll have to take a look at it. We'll have to see if what they do is going to be righteous. I hope they do it within as much friendly and humanized events they can do, so, but yeah. Moving on from that, we're moving on to some Ukrainian and Russian news here. Vladimir Zelensky confirmed his intention to release Zhelezhnev, who is the army chief, I believe. The president of Ukraine stated that this on air on the Italian TV channel RAL 1, adding that he is also considering the dismissal of not only Sayushini, but other senior officials. He was quoted saying this: "Of course, a reboot and a new beginning is necessary. When we talk about this, I mean the replacement of numbers of state leaders, not only the military sphere. I'm also thinking about this replacement of Selinsh. I can't pronounce that, but I'll say it as I think it is. Shlinshnyev, something like that. It is true this issue concerns the entire management group who drive the country's car," Zelensky said. So this is quite significant. I mean, obviously he replaced the defense minister who he said became too close with the Western, which is funny. But, you know, he said what he's... Oh, look at that. What we got down here? We have a Boeing RC river joint. This is a river joint in the Pacific, just on the outside some Japanese islands here. Let's keep an eye on that one. That's interesting. What we got over here? Oh, that's a spy plane right there. Pretty much. It's a reconnaissance plane, Kawasaki P1. Some things, they pretty much fly these all the time. It's not often you see the river joints here, so let's keep an eye on that river joint right there. Hallelujah. No, but yeah, that is certainly something you got to keep an eye on, and something you want to continue to keep an eye on. But also, moving on what I was saying, yes, it is very likely that Zelensky is going to replace a number of high-ranking officials in the party right now. I mean, we're talking a lot of people. You know, we're talking a lot of the senior staff. And why? And people tell me, you know, it's because of the corruption. A lot of the people that are there now were also there during the time of when the country was quite corrupt. So what I believe is that they will seriously try to well, I don't know. I mean, they'll try to replace him and find some good people that can work the countries better. So this will be serious. This will be serious. It'll be a big change, and it will also be interesting to see what happens. So keep in tune on that. Don't know who's going to be replacing him yet, but we'll figure it out probably. So for some reason, Russia imposes a partial ban on banana imports from Ecuador and a full ban on carnation imports. Because they can. Because they can. No, a week and a half ago, the Ecuadorian authorities said that they would hand over Soviet military equipment to the U.S. for further shipment to Ukraine. And of course, the Russians who made this, you know, a lot of people still alive in Russia who made this happen or who made the equipment themselves, have now come out and said, you know, well, hey, listen, you can't do that. I know my rights. They said you can't do that. You can't do that. And then, you know, they said, oh, well, watch me, you know. So, yeah. By the way, let's watch this right here. The reason why I want to watch this. A lot of volcanoes has gone off lately. A worldwide earthquake alert has been put out. And it was put out quite a long time ago, actually. And also, not only that, but continuous events like these are continuing all over the globe. Just today, a volcano blew up in the Philippines. So, was it in the Philippines? Yeah, in the Philippines, yeah. So we'll get a picture of that, and we'll show you a video of that a little bit later. But just want to keep you out here, guys, because this is in Mexico. As you can see right there, something is still occurring here. So yeah, the Popocatépetl volcano on the borders of Mexico City. So here you have it. This is a giant volcano, actually. Keep an eye on that one as well. Yeah, so moving on from that, because who cares? Ukraine will reportedly sign security agreements with France and Germany in the coming weeks. We don't know what the agreements are going to be about. As far as we understand, some kind of agreement between the Ukrainians and the French and the Germans will be coming in the near weeks. What that's going to be, I got no idea. But I know it's going to be good, hopefully. The traitor of the Americans, as they like to call him, Tucker Carlson, has arrived in Moscow. Carlson were seen at the airport before later being seen at the Bolshoi Theater performance. Carlson have expressed his desire to interview press Vladimir Putin. Okay. Tucker is an American traitor. So they call him an American traitor, right? To Tucker Carlson, they called him a traitor to America. Yeah. There's a picture of him, actually. Here he is. This is in Moscow, by the way. So there he is. In an airport in Moscow. Because why? Well, because he wanted to go to Moscow. Apparently he wanted to see the sights, fall out a window or two. Yeah, he wanted to fall out a window or two. Meanwhile, everyone is partying it up and apparently not giving a shit about Ukraine. Meanwhile, Putin is probably on his private yacht having a sip of champagne. Zelensky visits one of the hottest spots on the front line. Vladimir Zelensky visited Robotyne in Zaporizhia. It is a few kilometers from the front line. Yeah, okay, there we go. The location of the 65th Separate Mechanized Brigade. He talked to the defenders, thanked, and presented them with state rewards. There you go. There's a lot of translation of those guys right there. Oh, what's that? Is that like... interesting. But here you have it, guys. This is Zelensky going to the front lines. It's a 2-minute video here. Watch it. But since Dennis Rodman is cool, it's okay. I don't know who Dennis is. 86. I've got no idea who that is. I'm not that American.
Ніколи не очікував, що зустріну ще вас, також як і він.
There's no English translation. Sorry about that.
Нормально. Хмельниччина, Рівненщина. Ти не пам'ятаєш, де? Ні, родився на Хмельниччині, живу в на Рівненщині.
If you're wondering exactly where this is, I'll show you. Because the reason why you think to yourself, oh, he's probably a few miles away from the front line, right? No, I'll show you where he is. This is Robotyne. Wait, no, is this Robert? What is this? No, Zaporizhia, right? Yeah, this is Robotyne. So this is where he is, guys. This is where he is. I think somewhere along right here. From this front line right here. That's where he was. You know, he didn't visit like here or here. He visited this area, which is one of the most contested areas. This is the second most contested area. The area up here, here, is the most, Andavika is the most, in my book, the most contested, insanely contested area. This is the only area the Russians have actually made advancements throughout the later seasons here. Look at that. Bigger push by the Russians actually today. The Russians actually made quite a leap here, as you can see. That's why we're talking about it. Andavika is seriously under threat here. You can see that. But yeah. There you go. So he's here. Okay. This is the area he visited. You know, you want to know where Putin visited? Okay, I'll show you. Where's Mariupol? This is in English, but I think, oh, that's Mariupol right there. This is what Putin visited. Quite far away from the front line. You know, and he's never been at the front. Never. So, there you go, guys. Oh, right. No, right. Dennis Rodman. Now he's the guy who's he's the guy who's friends with Kim, with the little rocket man, right? Kim Jong-un. Oh yeah, now I know him. Yeah. No. Oh yeah.
Маю велику честь сьогодні бути тут, підтримати вас і нагородити хлопці. Наші воїни на ваших плечах. Така складна вирішальна місія. Відбити ворога і перемогти в цій війні. Я вам бажаю цієї перемоги. Хочу вас нагородити. Ну і бажаю зробити все, щоб ця перемога була швидше, щоб вас підтримували рідні, близькі і всі цивільні громадяни України. Хочу, щоб ви знали, що всі адекватні люди в світі розуміють, що у вас найскладніша робота, і всі українці вам пишаються. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Користуючись нагодою, ще раз 130-го термізного батальйону хочу вручити вам на згадку.
Вітаю.
Служу українському народові.
Дякую за службу.
Дякую.
Дякую за службу.
Слушаю українську народу.
Вітаю вас. Дякую за службу.
Служу народу України.
You know, for him to be able to visit this, they actually had to go so deep underground. These things are like made in bunkers, and they've recently started installing big metal tubes meters into the ground. This is actually made like the area they hide in this front. They've actually made it so they're, you know, they're meters down towards the ground. They're you know, not miles, but they're a lot of feet. I don't know how many feet. I think maybe 10 feet, probably more, maybe even into the ground. That's how far down they actually go to be able to protect themselves from the shells and the rockets and stuff like that coming in. Mostly shells. Not they don't fire a lot of rockets in that area there. It's mostly shells. So yeah,
Служу українському народу.
that's why it's so cramped as well.
Дякую за службу ще раз.
Now, this is deep underground as well. It's probably one of the deepest areas they've got. I imagine for him to visit, they probably went to one of like the most deepest areas just to make sure, you know. All right. The Russian losses as of today has gone higher here. They're actually nearing 400,000 soldiers killed in Ukraine. That's a lot, people, but here you have it. 810 troops killed just today, or, you know, as of today, right? 13 APVs, armor personnel vehicles, or armor carry, yeah, you get it. Vehicles and fuel tanks, 2+ tanks. The reason why we're not seeing a lot of tanks is probably because of the thing I mentioned earlier. If you weren't here for that, I mentioned this earlier here, but recently the Russians have gathered up to a tank force of 500 tanks, guys. 500 tanks, more than 600 combat vehicles, 100 howitzers, and 40,000 soldiers for an attack on Kupiansk. That was reported by Forbes. So it is noted that the occupiers plan to launch a major offensive in order to achieve military success closer to spring against the backdrop of elections campaign. The armed forces, despite the shortage of shells, are now actively strengthening and stocking up FPVs for the FPV drones for this battle. So I want to point this out here, guys. This is the gather number, probably more than this in terms of equipment, but hundreds of howitzers, 40,000 men, a tank force of 500 and 600 combat vehicles. The Ukrainians are lagging in the most basic needs of things. This right here is a fucking massive force. This is the force that's going to be a very, very toughening challenge. This is really going to put the Ukrainians to the test. They've been put to the test before. They've succeeded the test before. And they've shown us that they can fight off any force. But this one right here, with the crumbling amount of equipment they are getting in because of weak Western politicians being fucking stupid. Sorry. But it's true. This is huge, but we'll have to. I mean, this is supposed to start very soon as well. So this hasn't started, but it's in the Kupiansk area, so keep an eye on it. You know, it could have been started already, but certainly, you know, this is very big indicate that it hasn't started, because we've only seen 2 tanks being destroyed, and that's because they're saving them. But 31 artillery systems, 12 UAVs, 6 special equipments, and 1 cruise missile. This is a lot of numbers. It's a good day today. But I can't tell you enough just how much we're actually looking at in terms of a lot. You know, it's going to be a lot. The techs in the 40s are still going at it. But we're moving on to some United States news here. Texas is building a wall. Texas, we're going to build a wall. That's what Donald Trump said. And apparently, Greg, a bit, or I think it's a bit, says they're building a wall. But we actually have video proof of this inside a paper, very trustable. you have it, guys. These are actual videos here of the wall being put up. This is a wall to prevent the migrants that have been flocking through this area here. I'm actually unsure what side is the United States side. This is probably the United States side. Or is it that side? I don't know if it's a Mexican filming this or or if it's the United States. I reckon he just went over the border there for a second. But yeah, here you go, guys. They're setting up the borders here and the walls here, and they're not letting them through. This is what the people wanted, but they're still doing it. So, yep. The Biden administration imposes a 17.6 billion aid for Israel without additional money for Ukraine. The United States Congress appears to have completely given up on supporting any sort of Ukrainian, as its House of Speakers apparently is a national fucking traitor. But but they've given up supplying anything to Ukraine pretty much. I mean, the Europeans are the only one left to support it, and then of course some Ecuador as well, but. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. It's not really a good time here for Ukrainians. I'm sure we're going to have to figure it out. We always do, but it's not a great time for the Ukrainians right now. Not a great time. Yeah. So, for further on that, have to keep an eye on it. Hopefully, they'll figure something out, which I reckon they won't. United States Congress compromising is something they haven't done since the fucking Revolutionary Wars. So, you know, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it. But an eruption of the, what's the name? The Mayon volcano in the Philippines. Residents reported a thunder-like roar followed by plumes of ash and steam from its crater. Now, I actually believe I showed you guys the video of this live, and we actually thought it went off there, but apparently it's went off even more now. It might not be the same one. They've got a lot of volcanoes.
Nagputok so mayon.
This is a lot, you know, but it's a huge volcano. No, this is huge.
Kasubanggi baga
That's the thing I've been telling you guys. I mean, we're talking. We're talking about a huge chain of eruptions here. I mean, it's a constant chain of eruptions here. Now, these volcanoes have been known to go off, but you know, Iceland, it's just a chain. 'Cause in Iceland, they went off. Iceland obviously has some volcano that goes off quite often. It's kind of a rocky place. It's built upon two tectonic plates, so that's something. It's a tectonic island, you know, volcano island, so not something unusual. But of course, down towards the Philippines and now in the South Americas as well. Not unusual places, but in this series sort of events, you know, this continuously happens like that. That's what got me worried about it. So keep an eye on it, but yeah. Oh, what was that? Islamic Fulan militias just started a killing spree in the Benue state of Nigeria. They are killing Christians for the Umugadli community. Nick, welcome in. The area around Adoka is particularly hard hit. Any protest marches planned in London? No, but in London. Why specifically London? You think they're still crusaders? Think they'll go down there, crusade the shit out of them? I'd do that. No. But this is quite a serious problem here, guys. I mean, they're killing off Christians, and there hasn't been an uproar about it. People are talking about it, but they're not really, I mean, you know. I mean, it's not almost like, oh, you start killing off a lot of Muslims, and then the whole world freaks out. These guys start killing off a lot of Christians. A lot of people go, and then Muslims go, oh, good. And then people praise them for saying that. I mean, I'm just, you know. But apparently not. Apparently nobody cares about it. Apparently the Pope doesn't want to talk about it. I understand he's the Catholic Church, which is not exactly the same thing, right? But I got no idea what the fuck these. I'm not a religious kind of guy. I'm really not. But yeah. Well, Nick, I tell you what, it's probably just an exercise, considering that they've not said like, oh, it's gonna be continuous for the rest of the existence of our country. You know, it's gonna be there forever. They've said it's gonna be there for a month. It could have It could have something to do with what was happening in Kaliningrad. The Russians have recently tried to jam any plane in this mile radius. They've actually set off jamming signaling, so it turns on here, and GPS and everything, and planes flying over it can actually be cut off. But, you know, the significance about it is, of course, also doing it along the Belarusian border. I'm reckoning it's an exercise. A lot lately, the Polish and the NATO has said that they have to prepare for a war with Russia. So this is probably an exercise. Probably. But, but anything can happen. I mean, you know, maybe they know something we don't. You know, you never know. You never know nowadays. You never know. Okay, the U.S. Central Command released footage from last night in the southern Red Sea showing the launch of several Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles, TLAM, or Belarus. Well, tell you what, it can be anything, Nick. It could be anything, but I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. Because I don't know, but I'm betting on it being an exercise, which it probably is, but, you know, they could know something we don't. Of course they could. Towards the Houthi. Nick, I've told you before, don't bring me anything from New York Prepper. Haven't I told you that I don't like New York Prepper? So why would you continue to talk about New York Prepper? I'm just like... It's astonishing now that you've continued to bring it up since I've told you millions of times I don't give a shit about that guy. But, you know, whatever. As the launch of the Super Hornet multi-role fighter aircraft and the EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft. What the fuck is these words? Can't you just fucking say we fired off some fucking missiles? The fuck are these fucking words? Oh my god. The U.S. Central Command showing that they've shot the Tomahawk land cruise missiles, TLM, towards the health positions in the Buka fucking class guided missiles destroy U.S. fucking... Holy shit, you know? How many fucking words? Can you not just say they fired off some fucking missiles? That's a lot. You know, it's a lot. It's alright. It's alright, Nick. Just remember, that guy... Listen. New York Prepper is very much just a warmonger. He will play on your fears to get you to subscribe to him or like his videos or watch him. People are naturally curious. People want drama. People want drama, and when they hear the war, things are about to go war, they either get scared and they want to watch it because they want to know what's going on. That's just how we work. Okay? And he plays on that, and he knows that. That's just what he does. Saying that everything is going to kick off, World War III is going to start, that's ridiculous. Okay? That's ridiculous. So that's what I'm going to point out to you here. It's ridiculous. Okay? He's just a warmonger. Fearmonger. It's fear porn. That's what it is. Yeah. Half of New York Prepper's mods, the people who moderate his channel, are pro-Russian. And he also wants war because war is good for his business. He's a prepper. War is good for his business. He wants to make money. He doesn't give a shit about you. He just wants you to buy his products. He doesn't give a shit about you. You know? Yeah, but it's ridiculous to say we're about to go to war. We're not about to go to war. And in fact, I don't even think we have to go to war with Russia. It's just fear mongering. That's what it is. Oh, look at that. Man, that's just sad, isn't it? Egypt comes up and builds another wall. You know, I hate to break it to you, Egypt. Now, you fell off since the last time you built a wall. Because last time you built something impressive, that was the what was that? The pyramids? about 3,000 years ago. I hate to break it to you, man, but looking at that wall there that you've been building to what? Protect yourself from you think that what do you think that wall's gonna do? Like, look at it. Look at the structure of it. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, they're building a wall. Yeah, but what do you think that wall's gonna do? Hey. No, exactly, Nick. That Russia aren't that stupid. They're not gonna attack NATO. NATO is still on top, and it will continue to be on top. Because we have the United States, and not only do we have the United States, we also have the best technology you can get in the whole goddamn world. The best productions, and we have Germany. Russia doesn't like Germany. Remember that. It's basically just like the wall won't really do shit structural-wise. If a tanks drive through it, the tanks drive through it. But, you know, it's basically just like, oh, we don't want you looking at us. This is just ridiculous at this point, you know. They're building up a wall so they can't look over it. That's really what they're doing. I mean, what they're doing is just building a wall so they can't look over a wall, so they can't look into Egypt. It's basically just saying we don't want you in a country, and we don't even want you looking at our country. That's what it's basically what they're doing now. But yeah. So I gotta, you know, calm my voice down a bit here. I think I'm yelling a bit, maybe. I don't know. Am I getting through enough? I'm talking loud. Sorry about that. At least 99 dead in Chile wildfires. I didn't know this was happening, but apparently it is. This is not unusual, but there has been wildfires in these areas before. But this is quite devastating. I was actually not aware this was even going on. Why did I not hear about this? I'm on Twitter like every single day. Why did I not hear about this? I mean, holy shit. Is this what Chile looks like right now? This is a lot. Oh my god. Why did I not hear about this? Look at the buildings. It's everything. It's just destroyed. Look at that. Is that the fires that done that too? It probably is. It looks like it's very ashy. Looks like it's burned down half the fucking shit. Holy shit. I did not know about this. You know about this? And nobody's been talking about it. Just nobody's been talking about it. I haven't heard anything of it. This is a catastrophe. Well, what? What the fuck? What the fuck happened? Nobody talked about this? Holy shit, look at it. What the fuck happened? Just build everything out of fucking wood. But look at that house there. That's just... It used to be a house. That's just fucking gone. Why did I not hear about this? This is fucking huge. I don't know why I didn't hear about this. Because people care about war. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's important to care about war, but I mean, this is quite serious as well. Holy shit. My god. Well, my condolences. I mean, that's unfortunate. God damn. That's insane. It is insane. Does he have a video out? Maybe we could watch him? Oh yeah, he does. Listen, guys, let's watch here Zelensky. He might actually. I think he's actually at a tent, like near the front line or something like that. I don't know. It kind of looks like he's in a tent somewhere. He was at the front line earlier today, so it makes sense he's probably not back yet. Maybe he's not back. Listen, watch this, guys. Here, there's a free 30-second video here of him giving you an update on his life. So, right? It's important about Ukraine. So, watch it.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Дуже активна неділя сьогодні. Вранці роботине. Одна з найбільш жорстких частин фронту. Запорізький напрямок. Особисто подякував воїнам, нагородив безпосередньо на передовій 5 з кращих тих, хто відзначився в боях цими тижнями. старших солдатів Ігоря Гончарука, Івана Тарана, Ярослава Поліщука, сержанта Михайла Блашківа і старшого лейтенанта Андрія Ольшанського. Андрія відзначено Хрестом бойових заслуг. Усі саме такі хлопці, чия хоробрість, витривалість зберігає наші позиції і нашу державу. Я дякую вам, воїни. Дуже дякую та усім вашим побратимам. У Запоріжжі провів безпекову нараду і не лише щодо питань області та міста. Були доповіді військових командувачів, зокрема по ситуації в Авдіївці. Звичайно, окрема розмова по Запоріжжю, увесь цей напрямок, фортифікація. Я вдячний усім, хто залучений до будівництва, захист від російських повітряних ударів, забезпечення соціального життя. Держава готова зробити більше для гарантування робочих місць та соціального спокою в області. Сьогодні ж представив нового очільника обласної військової адміністрації Івана Федорова. День повітряне командування «Схід», доповідь і детальна розмова щодо захисту неба над.
Well, I mean, unplanned military action usually just means a quick reaction exercise. What they're saying it could be potential unplanned military action is like, you know, keeping your forces ready with an unplanned military exercise. I'm betting on it being a military but if they're saying, because I did hear about them saying it could be a potential unplanned military, I did talk about this earlier. If you guys are missing, I did talk about this, and I also talked about the definition of it. Go back to the start of the stream and you can hear me talk about it. If you want to do that, go back to the start of the stream and you can hear me talk about it. But potential unplanned military action could very likely be some kind of quick reaction, try to get the military in shape kind of thing. I mean, that's what I'm betting. But listen, guys, I don't know. I don't know why they've done this. I couldn't tell you. This is my best guess. I'm betting military exercise. Because they've been ramping about that a lot lately, but this could be something else. I don't know. But the reason why I think a military exercise, because no one else is talking about it. Like, there hasn't been troops being sent to Poland. There hasn't been troops or movement of other troops like Germany or France or you know, all these people have commitment to put troops at the front. Of course, they still have troops there, but you know, I mean, they have quick reaction troops, which they're betting on being enough to protect. And also, if this was to be an attack of some sort, you know, Belarus hasn't put soldiers at the front lines. Russia hasn't put any soldiers anywhere. So, just to point out here, there hasn't been any troop movement. There hasn't been any tank movement. Russia wouldn't start a war with NATO right now, because if they were to start a war with NATO right now, that would mean having to spend so much resources it can't spend right now because it doesn't have the resources and the capabilities to do so right now. That would mean it would lose in Ukraine very quickly and also lose in Europe. So it makes no sense for Russia to do this right now. And if it was an attack, then it'd be some kind of rocket attack of proportion from Belarus, maybe. But Belarus hasn't done anything in this sort of way, so very likely an exercise. That's as far as my guess goes. That makes the most sense.
Дніпровщиною. Небезпека постійна, висока. Росія розглядає регіон як одну з основних мішеней для терористичних атак. Саме наші підприємства, наш економічний потенціал – цей регіон. Ми працюємо, щоб додати можливостей збивати ракети, збивати дрони. І наші воїни повітряних сил, мобільні вогневі групи, кожен, хто воює саме проти російського повітряного терору, заслуговують на нашу з вами вдячність і подальше посилення. У тому числі ми готуємо нові перемовини з партнерами щодо цього. Зараз Кривий Ріг, увесь район та інші громади області, нарада щодо енерго- та водозабезпечення міст і сіл Дніпровщини, зокрема і Кривого. Захист енергооб'єктів, посилення мобільних вогневих груп, ППО, РЕП, відновлення енергопотужності. Я дякую всім, хто цими днями оперативно відновив енергопостачання після нещодавніх ударів кожній ремонтній бригаді. Дякую і тим, хто працює зараз на будівництві нової інфраструктури постачання води. Це стратегічне завдання. Сотні тисяч людей залежать від цього. Нікополь, Марганець, Покров, частина Кривого Рогу та Криворізького району. Окрема доповідь щодо захисту від диверсантів та колаборантів. У правоохоронців є непогані результати. Максимальна повага, вдячність усім, хто воює заради держави, працює заради України, заради українців і усім, хто допомагає кожному волонтеру, кожній волонтерській спільноті, усім, хто в державі і разом з державою. Слава Україні!
There we have it. Thank you so much, Zelensky here. Here's the explanation of the day here. Infrastructura.
Бажаю
Water
здоров'я, шановні.
infrastructura. Water infrastructure, always up going. They always keep talking about that water infrastructure, which is important. And they've actually made a lot of efforts towards other countries like South Korea and Japan to help that going. So that's also something they're getting going. But yeah. Borders say otherwise. No, but I'm not a terrorist. This woman, a doctor, and Anesthesia Maria Lopez is like a Danish doctor or something like that. She's been going around doing all kinds of different things right now. A snow leopard from a... What the fuck? And survive that? Just go ahead and survive that. That's... Why does it do that? That's insane. Alright. Texas government, Greg Abbott, or whatever his name is, said that his state racer wire installation at Park in Eagle Pass, Texas, has led to a massive reduction in migrants in migrant flow in the area. Yeah. Good on him. Oh, look at that. California has declared a state of emergency as winter storms make landfall. A state of emergency 26 minutes ago has been declared in California. About half an hour ago then. Or an hour or something like that. About half an hour ago. State alert have been declared in California. I'm going to have to go on YouTube here. Let's take a look at what's going on there. Shall we? I do wish to actually go ahead and look at that. What? Blah, blah, blah. What was it? I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this is quite happening. Well, who we got here? We got CBS Evening News. All right.
Skal du snart ud at rejse?
Thank
Tonight, California is bracing for a dangerous and intense winter storm. The National Weather Service says flooding from the atmospheric river could be life-threatening. CBS's Elise Preston is in Long Beach tonight as people rush to get ready. Elise.
Good evening, Nikki. Nearly 37 million Californians are facing that risk of intense flooding. The urgent warnings are clear. Be prepared. Californians rush to get ready, filling
This is one thing this is one thing I don't get. I've always said this. Americans are fucking resourceful when you put a common goal together. When you tell a bunch of Americans that something is life-threatening and could die, they'll all get together and they'll do something and they won't fucking die. That's what I tell you. Americans are very resourceful. You tell a bunch of Europeans, oh, we're all gonna die, get together and work together. And they're like, oh, do we really have to do that? Can't we just get somewhere else to do that? Or, you know, I'm too lazy for that. You know, can't do that. Can we just get somebody else to do that? Come on. You know, Europeans are lazy. Americans, when something is threatening them and they have a common goal, they're not lazy.
sandbags. Hopefully this works. Lining the streets with
Hopefully
protective
this
concrete
works.
barriers.
Hopefully this works. I have a story for you. It won't.
and building massive beach berms
Oh, that will work. That'll work.
to brace for a
God damn it. See,
dangerous.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, you tell a lot of American people they're gonna die for some weather. They're gonna build this shit in a few days. They'll build this shit and they'll tell you, oh, we're done. Need more?
For
All right,
a
well, let's get some
dangerous
more.
atmospheric river
I'm
that could
telling you,
drop
right?
rain nonstop
They're
for
good at that.
days.
It doesn't happen very often, but when it
No.
does, we just want to make sure we're prepared so the water doesn't get in the house.
Several communities
Yeah.
are under mandatory evacuation orders. Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency in several counties. Many cities are still struggling to clean up from the first atmospheric river this week that battered the state.
Oh, and you can't tell me, oh, the world's not changing. All right? There hasn't been any serious weather conditions lately that could tell you otherwise. No, there has. And they continue to be because apparently America is so badly hit lately that it can't get a break. can't get a
Emergency
break.
resources at the ready include 21 swiftwater rescue teams,
Boats in the water, they're coming!
7 million pre-positioned sandbags, and more than 1,200 pieces of snow removal equipment.
If you don't need to be on the roadways during this storm event, we're asking you to please postpone any non-essential travel.
Now, in addition to flooding, mud and rock slides are also great concerns here in Southern California. Officials are worried that the ground just can't handle all the rain that's coming. Nikki?
California can't catch a break. Elise Preston, thank you.
California can't catch a break.
Mojo sharing.
No, I don't want to talk to you. This is fucking bullshit. You know what they do? They hire this Danish guy to talk about mojo sharing. This guy right here, right? He hasn't got shit money, and they tell him to go do this press thing. Like, it's such bullshit. it's clearly fucking fake as well. Like, I've always looked at those ads and realized, listen, it's clearly fucking fake. Why does anybody buy into that bullshit? Mojo sharing. I have a way for you to get rich. No, you don't. You're not rich yourself. you know. You can't tell other people how to get rich when you're not rich yourself. It's just not how things work in life. 1 second, guys. All right. Well, here you have it. State of emergency has been declared. Now, I don't know if that was hit just now, but it might have just hit just now here. Yeah. Very, very good. Very good, guys. Very good. Yeah. I don't know, you know. Seems like something's happening all the time. Can't catch a break. See, this is like the things I don't get. Like, people come out with all this kind of stuff, right? Jack Straw. Poland warns of unplanned military actions along the border with Belarus and Russia. The warning refers to possibility unplanned military actions from tomorrow until May 5th. There are rumors that there will be a false flag carried out in contracts. Russia has recently often said that they have no plans for starting World War III, said by Putin and Medvedev. World War III information. It is World War III. No, it's not. And the fact that you're saying a false flag attack will be carried out. What does that mean? You're at what you're telling me is that you're saying that Poland will attack themselves to what? To go to war with Belarus? Like that's when we're in the level of ludicrousy, you know? So we're in the level of ludicrousy. Like we're in the level of where it just is ridiculous at this point, you know? It just is, you know, like you at this point you're just in a level of ludicrousy that just isn't even fucking true at this point, saying that there will be a false flag attack. Well, you know, by who? Poland on itself? No. It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, certainly not. Certainly not. Certainly not. First degree matter. No, first degree, right? Let's see if there's anything going on in the sky. Haven't really got anything interesting for you on the news front. Not a lot of stuff there other than the whole exclusive zone thing. No, we did have that thing over here, but that's gone. No, it's not still there. No. It's not gone, but we do have a KC-135, which is a tanker, mid-air refueling system, and behind it we have the Boeing RC, which is the river joint there. So you know, that right there is a certain indication right there. Is that the second Boeing RC taking off now? Like, is that actually a second? Is that a second river joint taking off? Nah, I know, because there's one over here, but we got a second river joint taking off now? What the fuck's going on there? That's something. It's a reconnaissance plane, that's what it is. Sure, it's the NC? No, the other one. Can tell you which one that is. Some planes over there. Oh, C5 Galaxy, look at that. See, that's what I was worrying about there. You know, all of a sudden, these C5s starting to head back and forward. When you have C5, they're the biggest military plane in the whole goddamn U.S. Army. You have those guys starting to move back and forward. That's when you got to start sort of thinking about what they're moving. This could be equipment for Ukraine, or it could be equipment for the Middle East, you know. Oh, look at that. I said that earlier. If these guys start flying around, I'm going to start to be a little conspicuous about what they're moving. Because they might be moving a lot then. You know, they're moving a lot. If those things are up flying, they're moving a lot. Not just a small bit, like a lot. Yeah, we got a tanker over there. We got some planes heading in and out in the United States. We have a Canadian plane that took off from the North Pole. That's interesting. Look at that. Canadian plane that took off from the goddamn North Pole. It took off from like up here somewhere. God damn. Got a favorite tracker right now? Oh, we do. What? Why are people tracking a plane that's going in circles back towards... Like... Okay. That's some things I don't get sometimes. Sometimes people just start tracking random because everybody else is tracking it. Oh, look at that. San Jose. So they're tracking a plane that took off from France to Costa Rica because that's important. 944 people tracking a plane that took off from fucking Paris and landed in fucking Puerto Rico. No, what was that? Was it Guatemala or something like that? Mexico. I just don't understand that. Could never tell you why. Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? All tired of hearing that. U.S. Senate released text of border security and Ukraine aid bill. Yeah, of course they did. War special unit cracking jewelry. Oh my God! Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Oh my God! What we got? Ghost going around here? Holy shit! I would not want to fuck around with that motherfucker. Look at looks a little chuppy under it. I mean, I won't lie to you. It looks a little chuppy, but he might just be very muscular. And that's the case, then. Holy shit. I mean, look at that. Why is Uber trending? Did something happen? Something probably did happen. I mean, I know why Tucker Carlson is trending, but I know Palestinians the Palestinians are trending again, because why not? See, here you have it again. Alert channel, right? Is that something I follow? No. But it's on my For You page, and Poland warns of unplanned military action along the border with Belarus and Russia. See, now this one is simply just explaining what happens, right? But yeah. But I am interested in it as to what this unplanned military action is going to be. But we won't get our answers before tomorrow. Well, technically, it's the 5th for me now. So this, look, what's the time zone in Poland? The time zone in Poland is the same time right now. The time zone in Poland is the same as mine. So it's 1 a.m. in Poland. Or just 6 minutes before 1 a.m. So it is. It is, guys. It is. It is in fact. It is in fact now. It is in. It is in effect now. This thing that they're talking about is in effect now. So what it means, I couldn't tell you, but yeah. It was an explosion at a Tokyo restaurant paralyzed subway traffic. An explosion occurred in a restaurant near Omarato Station due to a strong fire. Train service was suspended and about 800 passengers were taken off the train. They had to walk along the rail lines to the nearest train station. The fire was extinguished, but part of the restaurant burned down. One person was injured. Well, that's not a lot of people. Looks like we got scared for that one. Look at that. Oh, that's quite huge. One guy just dropped their phone on that one. Oh, tell that child to calm down. Tell that child to calm down. Like, really? Hey, what are you crying about me? What are you crying? Is that money? That's probably just some kind of paper. It looks like money. I don't know. Nah, it's probably some kind of paper. Like, I do like how, you know, if it's a fire, it's big, and it was an explosion. I do like how in Japan, like in Denmark or something like that, because we don't have a lot of them. They would arrive with like one fire truck and put it out, right? But in Japan, they get like, oh, well, we'll just take 3 fire trucks and be there in a second. You know, they just do it better than us. I hate it. I don't hate it, but you know. Youth unemployment rate, 12% of Denmark is unemployed. Well, I'll tell you what, the youth in Denmark are probably studying, and you get paid from studying, so there's not really a reason, and you don't actually have time to work. I work, and I am studying at the same time. That's a different point of view. I'm just better. No. Japan, of course, again, comes out at the fucking bottom right there. Oh. And Switzerland, of course, 2.2%. I don't hate the Swish. They're good, but they're just so overbearing with themselves. They're like, oh, look at us and look how better we are. And I was like, oh, shut the fuck up. You know. South Africa with 58% of its youth being unemployed. Great work, guys. Just hammering the competition. United States is not even on this fucking list. Well, you don't even have the United States on this list. What's the United States? Oh, there you are. No, you actually have less than Denmark. Look at that. You have less than Denmark. That's something. You only have 7.3% of the American youth is unemployed. That's not bad, you know. That's not too bad. And now, plus, you have a lot more people. By the way, you have a lot more people than what Switzerland does. So I would say that's pretty impressive right there, guys. Sorry, not that one. That one. That one is, I don't believe it. I just don't believe that 7.2% in Nigeria of the youth is it's less than like how how like how tell me how Nigeria is on the same. Oh wait, maybe it's because of the oh right. I'm just going to talk about that, right? The child labor stuff. Well, child labor, maybe not child labor. I don't know what it is. Blah, blah, blah. No, we don't know. We don't know. U.S. Senate's released draft of a $118 billion partisan bill, which would provide $60 billion in aid for Ukraine, $40 billion to Israel, and $20 billion to border security. Look at that. U.S. Senate releases draft of a $118 billion partisan bill, which would provide $60 billion in aid for Ukraine. All right, $40 billion in aid for Israel. There you go. And $20 billion for border security. Well, I tell you what, $20 billion for border security, and you'll have a lot of people kept out of the border. You know, you have a lot of people kept out of the border. You certainly will. Top executives at Tesla and SpaceX used drugs with Elon Musk for fear of upsetting him and losing social capital. This is reported by Wall Street Journal, citing sources. The sources said that Musk took drugs with Tesla board members and Airbnb co-founder Joe Gabby or whatever, with former Tesla board member Steve Jefferson or something like that, and Tony Garcia, I've heard about that before, as well as with the other Kimball Oh, with his brother Kimball. In addition, Musk and his friends attended drug parties in Mexico. I knew something was up with that guy. Maybe, maybe Elon Musk is not special. Maybe he just takes a lot of drugs, so his brain is just pretty much out of it. Now, this is also the guy that we have to lead in putting people on Mars. No. First of all, I don't get this whole Mars thing. Why are we planning on going to Mars? Who the fuck wants to go to Mars? You can't breathe on Mars. You can't live on Mars for more than a month. The radiation on Mars, if you were to live there for a month, you'd exceed the limit of radiation acceptable for astronauts in space, and that's a month. There's people in space for years. So, point being, guys, that I just don't get how the fuck is it that we want to go to Mars? Why don't we spend a lot of the money that we spend on space stuff? I mean, I get exploring the universe, I get satellites and all that. Why not spend a little bit more money protecting this Earth so we can continue to live here? Because you know what we have here? We can actually walk around on the fucking surface of the Earth and breathe air. And live in it without being fucking radiated to death. The atmosphere on Mars is so fucking thin that every single UV radiation from the sun just pretty much gets through. Second off, Mars is made of 97% oxygen. That makes it dense. It makes it hot. That's Venus, right? The other one. No. Is it? No, it's made of a lot of oxygen. There's a very small mix of oxygen that makes what we can breathe, and because there's an overload of oxygen, we can't breathe it. I don't know. They just break. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Like, the whole fascination of, like, oh, we want a Mars colony. I don't want a fucking Mars colony. I don't want to live on fucking Mars. Fuck Mars. It's a fucking stupid place. Like, you can't live on Mars. You die from being, if you were to live there for 2 months or something like that, you die from cancer. Like, or less than that. Even if you were inside your habitat, if you didn't cover up the habitat with either ice or dirt, which is one of the viable ways to actually live there, you couldn't go outside. Because if you were to go outside, the amount of radiation you'd receive would make sure to give you cancer within a short-term amount of time. And without the proper conditions on Mars, you'd fucking die. The chances are they're not going to give you stuff to fix your cancer on Mars. And second off, you can't go outside. Because if we were to send people to Mars, we'd have to give them habitats, cover it with ice from the North Pole, then put it all dirt over it, so the protection of radiation would be secure, but it wouldn't even be good enough. And then they'd have to spend every single waking hour inside these habitats, not being able to see outside. It would be dark. The only thing keeping alive would be light. How do we get light up there? I'll tell you one other thing. You can't use solar panels on Mars. Why? Because it's further away from the fucking sun. Okay? You can't use solar panels. The amount of energy that actually reaches Mars is much less than what reaches Earth. Therefore, solar panels they're not viable. You have to use wind tunnels. And they have to figure out some kind of way to get fucking energy. It's hard. Space is hard, but Mars is even harder. You'd have to terraform Mars to live there. Terraforming Mars could take thousands of years. It just doesn't make sense. Why do we want to live on Mars? It's not a viable place to live. I get sending missions up there, kind of figuring out places. Maybe having people on Mars one day would be cool to see. I get that. But living on it, trying to terraform it, there's no viable option. We'd have to terraform it. If we end up terraforming it, then sure, we live there one day. But other than that, it'd take thousands of years. You wouldn't be alive till the time that we could actually live on Mars. You right now are not going to be alive. Even I am not going to be alive about the time where we have a Mars colony able to be lived on Mars. Trust me, we will not be alive back then. If we are to live on a terraform Mars, now if we want to live on a Mars with colonies made of, protective layers of millions of protective layers to protect us against the radiation and constantly being, the only way to be outside, right, would be with your fucking spacesuit on. Oh, and a second thing, right? A third fucking thing, Mars soil is so fucking thin. The sand, the rusty sand is giving sort of the rusty feel to it. There's an explanation as to why this fucking planet is rusty. I don't exactly know to remember it. I think it's because of the oxygen level, but as you have it, right? It's rusty. That sand is much, much finer than anything you'll find on Earth. So the chances of you actually going inside with this sand, which is, by the way, radiated sand, it would go into your lungs. Oh, so what? You'd breathe fucking radiated fine sand. It's basically like you putting your head into a fucking sawing machine and breathing the fucking spurs and wood coming out from that. It's basically like you, for the remainder of your time, if you ever were to go outside, all that dust would very likely get on your suit. You go inside with all that dust on you, breathe it in. That's basically breathing radiated, extremely radioactive dust from in which is not only, the explanation as I said before, is basically like putting your head inside a fucking, like putting a glass tube on your head and putting a fucking some kind of tube inside of it and then blasting, wood particles from you. Like if you were to imagine you sawing something, right, and you see all that, you see all the dust of the wood falling off. That's basically you inhaling that every single hour of your day. It's ridiculous. You die quickly. You die. Your lungs wouldn't work. Your body would shut down. You'd die of a horrible fucking body will shut down. Like your organs would shut down. That's how you would die. Like, I just don't get the point of going to Mars. What the fuck do you want to go on Mars for? You can't live there. It's horrible. It's the whole fascination of Mars. Like, people take a look at it, and I say to them all the time, hey, listen, you'd fucking die walking on Mars. How long could you survive without decompression? You couldn't even survive 10 seconds on Mars without, your head would not, people say blow off, but you would suffocate. Not only would you suffocate, but taking off your helmet would be instant death. And you couldn't breathe the air because it's so heavily dense, so your lungs would just collapse immediately. And a fourth thing, Mars is much smaller than our planet, right? That means that the density is smaller. That means our gravity is smaller. Walking around on Mars, living on Mars, would mean having to exercise every single day for, I think it was 6 hours a day, every single day, or even more than that. You'd have to exercise fucking, it'd be huge. You'd have to exercise so much that you barely have any time to do anything else. The only thing you'd be doing today was exercise, right? That'd be the only thing you'd be doing, because if you don't, then it would lead to your muscles falling away. It could lead to muscle fatigue. It could lead to your bones getting damaged, which means we couldn't walk all of a sudden. You could become paralyzed. There's literally no joke. You could become paralyzed. Yeah. It's not a joke. Your muscles could literally fatigue because your body's not built for such low pressure points, No, but I don't, like, I understand the basics of all that. That's as far as I understand. I don't don't take my word for it, but that's as far as I understand. Yeah. First cassette. Who wants to watch a video? I want to watch it. See, the title of this video in which they made the point, this is Kurt Kassad, right? Really great channel, is building a Mars base is a horrible idea. Let's do it. It's a horrible idea. I mean, these guys said it's a horrible idea. It's a fucking horrible idea. You know? I don't know, guys. I'm just looking through things right now. I'm waiting to see if anything happens. There's nothing going on right now. Oh, actually, there is actually something here. The threat of ballistic missile use from east is reported by the Ukrainian Air Force media right now. So there could be a threat of ballistic missile use right here in these areas here. Keep an eye on that.
Mountains, wherever there is space to expand into, humans do so. So it's hardly surprising that we're already making preparations to set foot on Mars and to create the first permanent colony outside of Earth, maybe even terraform another planet and turn it into a second blue home. But wait.
These videos are so fucking good. I love them. But the point of this, I just want to tell you this. I know this has nothing to do with the news. I just don't have any more news for you, so we're going to watch this.
Before we can get to the nice future stuff, we first have to complete the second phase of colonization, creating a semi-permanent outpost to prepare the ground for a larger human presence. But doing so will be gruesome.
Listen to that. Gruesome. I love that. I love the intro. I love them. I loved them so much. I don't know why. I love them.
Even for an expansionist species like us, Mars is extreme. At first glance, Mars seems familiar. Polar ice caps, large valleys, liquid water under its surface, and a day barely longer than Earth's. The ideal place for us to go.
And unfortunately, that's the only reasons why we like it, because it has a similarities to Earth, but it's smaller than Earth as well. So it's, you know.
Mars is actually a cold, radioactive desert where the ground is poisonous and breathing is impossible.
Like, that's what I'm saying. It's radioactive. The ground, you know, breathing.
For us to go.
Listen to that.
Unfortunately, Mars is actually a cold, radioactive desert where the ground is poisonous and breathing is impossible. Mars is awful. You almost certainly don't want to go there. The pioneers doing the hard work on Mars will have an intensely stressful life filled with incredibly challenging problems never encountered before. But there are plenty of people willing to do that work, and we have the technology to enable them to do it. For this video, we will assume there have been prior missions to Mars to scout out a good place for an outpost, store resources and equipment, and that there's already a moon base that serves as a hub for Mars missions.
See, that's the one thing. We don't even have like a moon base left. One thing I don't get is, because the factor is, we haven't even got a moon base left. We as humans could easily build a moon base. That's what some people, I mean, continuously they say to us, oh, we couldn't build a moon base. We can build a moon base. Taking off from the moon in a rocket would be easier. There's pretty much no atmosphere on the moon, which means taking off in a rocket from the moon would be a million times easier, cheaper, and better than doing it on Earth. We could save the amount of money we'd have to spend on a moon base compared to the amount of money we would save would be astronomical. I don't get why we don't have a moon base. I'm serious. It's viable, it's optional, but we can actually have a moon base. There's no joke about it. We can actually have a moon base. We could have it right now. We have the technology for it. The scientists have said we could. It's just because humans continue to say to themselves, well, we have more troubling problems. We have to see who's the next Hollywood star. We have to see what government is willing to pay for this bullshit, you know?
The first major challenge for our outpost is the fact that Mars is very energy poor. Because of its distance from the sun, solar power is only 40.
You see the photos of the moonfall, I'm telling you? Oh, moonfall? Oh, and a moon rush. Well, the moon is starting to rust. That is true, yeah. But here's what I talked about earlier. You can't have solar energy. You can have it, but it won't be efficient enough to power much. Because it's further away from the sun, the amount of energy that actually reaches this Mars, it won't be good enough.
40% as effective as on Earth. But even this weakened sunlight is often obscured for days by enormous dust storms.
Yeah.
Solar power alone will probably not be enough. Alternative.
You take a look in the desert, right? Go to the desert and you take a look at those solar panels in the desert. The solar panels are very often filled with sand. Okay? And there actually have to be people that has to come by and actually blow off the sand from these massive sandstorm. Otherwise, the solar panels won't work very well. And on Mars, since you can't really go outside, but you can, but if you do, you risk the health of the whole entire crew and yourself. So it'd have to be done by drones. If you can do it by drones, sure. You also have to build drones that can withstand extreme amount of radiation. So that's also another challenging problem. It's all a problem. It really is. It's durable. Sure it is, but it's problematic.
Such as wind power and geothermal energy are also unfeasible, as there's hardly any atmosphere and Mars's interior is much too cold. Initially, nuclear technology might be the only option. Since Mars doesn't have easily accessible...
So that's what we have to do. You have to bring a fucking nuclear reactor of small proportions, small nuclear reactor, on a spaceship. They probably would fly the nuclear reactor to Mars before they would fly you there. And chances are they also fly these things there before they fly you there. But this is, that's what you have.
Radioactive elements, the nuclear fuel needs to come from Earth along with the reactor. If we do set it up, it could power our small outpost for the first few years. Unfortunately, all that energy won't be very useful if we can't breathe. Mars's atmosphere is only 1% as dense as Earth's and mostly made up of CO2. So our habitats need to be pressurized and filled with an artificial atmosphere made of nitrogen and oxygen, which...
Okay, so here's the other problem. What if that breaks? You'd have to artificially pump and make breathable oxygen for the humans inside of the habitat. What happens if those break? If there's a mechanical fault on that one, and you live inside, you don't have a spacesuit on with pressurized, or you don't have your spacesuit on, which you don't have inside the habitat, you die. You suffocate. I mean, that's, so there's like, if everything goes perfect, which is unlikely, nothing ever goes perfect in space. Things always happen. But this right here has to go perfect every single second of the day. Every single hour, otherwise everybody dies.
Made of nitrogen and oxygen, which comes with more problems. Corners and flat walls are weak points, so the habitats will have rounded and smooth shapes to handle the stress of great pressure differences between the interior and exterior. The airlocks need to be very airtight and work perfectly every time. Without an extensive magnetosphere or a dense atmosphere, half of all radiation coming from space reaches the ground. A person on the surface would be subjected to 50 times the radiation that they would be on Earth.
50 times the radiation that would be on Earth. 50 times.
Years on the surface of Mars exceeds the radiation dose.
3 years. I said a month. My bad. 3 years. Okay, it's a bit more. It's a bit longer.
Limits imposed on NASA astronauts for their entire career. This increases cancer risks significantly. To prevent that, we could shield our habitats with a thick layer of frozen CO2 that can be harvested directly from the atmosphere. Covering the dry ice with a meter of dirt would further increase the level of protection. Sadly, this means almost no windows. From the inside, most living spaces will be...
That's what I said earlier. It was going to surprise you the fact that I've drawn off this, of course, but... And look at that. There's like an alien in there. But that'd be livable. You live inside a habitat for years in darkness. There wouldn't be anything for you. It'd just be dark. You'd have to exercise extensively every single day, and this is how you'd live.
Be windowless tunnels. From the outside, they'll look like burial mounds. All of this would still not hold back all the radiation, but reduce it just enough to be survivable for long periods of time.
That's good.
It won't, however, protect anyone who ventures outside.
Yeah.
So remote-controlled robots will be used for routine work on the surface while our crew stays inside. Staying inside is a good idea for another reason: Mars dust. It's much finer than dust on Earth, so it could find its way into the gears or electronics.
Rover, I think it was Rover 1 or 2 or something like that. There's a reason the ones that have actually been been on Mars and been on the surface of Mars, driven around on Mars, broke because not only its solar panel, which is at that time they actually did power much of it with solar panels because it didn't need much to actually work. That got destroyed because all the dust on the solar panel stopped the sun from getting through, which means there wasn't no power, so the rover stopped. And also, there's been many mechanical failures because not of sloppy technical work. No matter how good you are at actually working at this stuff, that's dust because it's so fucking thin and radioactive. It's gonna go inside your the machine and it's gonna break it.
Of our machines. Because it's also very dry, it's electrostatically charged, sticking to everything, like spacesuits. It would be impossible to avoid carrying lots of Mars dust into our habitat and into the lungs of our crew. To make this even worse, Mars's soil is filled with very toxic perchlorate salts. Constant exposure could be deadly. This problem can still be overcome though. Spacesuits, for example, could be made in a way that they never truly enter the base, but stay attached to the outside of
that's true right there. That's good, right?
The habitats. Okay, great. Now we've safely isolated humans in terms of energy and air, and protected them from cancer, we just need to feed them. Water is easy to come by if a settlement is positioned near the Martian poles with their thick layers of ice. Growing food is a different kind of challenge though. Mars's soils are alkaline and lack the vital nitrogen compounds that plants need to grow. Before we can grow anything, we will have to decontaminate the soil, which is difficult and expensive. Then the soil can be fertilized using recycled biological waste. All of this will take a lot of time and is very energy intensive. So we might use aquaponics to raise fish and plants together, making the astronauts' diets more varied and tasty at the same time. This will be an important psychological boost for our overworked crew.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm not saying everything is bad, but most 99% of the things on Mars is bad.
Of these things don't solve one fundamental problem though. Mars has only 38% of Earth's surface gravity, which could cause muscle wasting, bone loss, and cardiovascular problems.
Yeah.
While this might be solved in the future by setting up rotating living spaces, for now our crew has to live with low gravity and exercise a lot to slow the degradation down. The crews will probably have to rotate every few years, after being stuck indoors in tight spaces without windows, with the same people performing the same.
For years, you'd have to be stuck. Could you do that? Years inside the same fucking area with the same people for years, doing the same things every single day. I mean, you'd be exploring space, and I think, to be honest with you, it'd probably be an exciting job, but it's a stressful one of that.
Same routines day in, day out, with little contact from the outside world and a lot to worry about. Like Antarctic scientists or submarine staff, they will undergo intense psychological screening to make sure they're mentally resilient enough to handle this lifestyle for several years. Establishing the first real infrastructure on Mars will be extremely taxing work that only a group of very determined and competent people can do. Luckily, we have enough of these on Earth. And there you have it, a small Mars base that will survive for at least a few decades, as long as it's getting a constant supply of resources, parts, nuclear fuel, and crews from Earth. Unfortunately, Mars and Earth are separated by millions of kilometers and orbital periods that leave only a narrow travel window every 2 years.
So that's another problem as well. Traveling to Mars is incredibly hard, because you can only actually travel there during a specific time when Mars and the Earth lines up. One other thing I want to point out here as well is then the moon base would solve that problem, but apparently we don't like to have moon bases because nobody likes to pay the money for it. We should.
If there's an emergency in the colony, Earth wouldn't be able to help until the next travel window opens. Helpers may arrive on a planet filled with corpses. Settling Mars will be the toughest challenge we have ever faced. It will be gruesome work to establish the infrastructure we need. But we're stubborn and we like extreme challenges. If we push through phase 2 of colonization, anything is possible.
Oh, did I get copyrighted? I did. Okay. Well, fair enough. Watch that. I thought it was okay to watch, but apparently not. I could copyright it. My stream down right.